Hello and welcome. To start off, I would like to share that we're recording these panels to share with our students who are unable to attend. I'm thrilled to partner with Kristen Brooks in Career Services to host the Career Speaker Series. And I am Bethany Morin in the Alumni Office. The Career Speaker Series invited alumni and community members to campus to share insight, knowledge, and resources with students to help prepare them for their own careers after they graduate. Today, we are launching the fall series with 3 panelists answering the question, what can I do with this major? Essentially, the panelists will be talking about how they took their liberal arts degree at Keene State College and ended up where they are today, and how they found their niche. I am going to jump right in. Today, we have Colin Daly, class of 2011. He's a communications major, and he is the founder of Just Hummus. We have Marissa DePolo. She is a health sciences major, the class of 2017, and she is a flight attendant with Delta Airlines. And we also have Stephanie Giang, class of 2017, psychology major, and she is the assistant director of the Wellesley Fund. I am going to start off with some questions, and then at the end, if we have anyone who has joined us, they are more than welcome to ask the questions themselves. So to launch in, I am going to start with Colin, because he was the first name I read off on my sheet. Can you please share a little bit about your time at Keene State College and after? How did you get to the role you are in today? And then Colin,
sure.
I will ask you to popcorn over to someone else on the panel.
Okay. Let's see. I started at Keene State in 2009. No, 2008. It's been a while, and I graduated in 2012. I am from Connecticut, and my role at the college, I was a student. I studied communications with a minor in business management. Was involved as an RA in student government. And between college and now, I've had a bunch of different jobs. I worked at a country club for a couple of years in hospitality. And then I worked at Harvard Business School. Then I did a lot of traveling and backpacking. I was a teacher in Israel for a year in the desert. And then I came back to Boston. And 4 years ago, I started a hummus company. It's called Just Hummus. And we make hummus and we sell it to about 150 locations around Boston and New England. And I'll pass it off to Marissa now.
Hi, I'm Marissa. So I graduated with a health science degree, but throughout my 4 years there, I was biology, nursing, and then health science. So I kind of bounced around that field. I wasn't entirely sure what to do. I was also involved in student government, biology research. I was in a sorority, and I had multiple work study jobs on campus. So I just loved Keene, and I wanted to get involved in every facet that time would allow. But when I graduated, I wasn't entirely sure what I wanted to do. My mom was briefly a flight attendant for about 5 years, and she saw the world, and I was like, sure, why not? And here I am, almost 4.5 years later, and I love it. It's definitely going to be something I make a career, and there are ways I've tied my major into it, but we'll get into that later. Alrighty, Steph, you're up.
Cool, thanks, Marissa. I am Steph Giang. I studied psych, I ended with psych. I popcorned a lot into sociology and history just because those are some of my areas of interest, and then finally landed on psychology. But I am now in higher education. I've worked within different roles within the university system, and I've really been able to use my psychological lens in helping my work and helping drive my work, especially during grad school, is super helpful. But yeah, I, like Colin and Marissa, I was super involved at Keene, and that really was the catalyst that helped me realize that this is what I want to do. I want to work in a college setting. I want to be with students 25/8, and it's been a blast.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I am going to ask Marissa first, and then I'm gonna ask Steph to follow up. And then Colin, please, if you could wrap up the next question. Especially because you two both explored a couple different majors while you were here. Can you talk about how you decided on your major and then how you've used it in your current career?
So between my three majors, they all kind of had to do with health in some way. Biology, I wanted to be a physician assistant. Nursing, obviously a nurse, and then health science and the public health aspect of it. Primarily my senior year when I was doing health science, it was a lot about policy and education, which I found very interesting, but I just didn't really want to be a part of health science policy. Now, looking back with this pandemic, it really has helped me because I've been a frontline worker the entire time. I also work as a medical scribe in a pediatric office when I'm not flying. So, you know, my public health lens, especially my senior year, has been super helpful, especially now, right now we're having, there's some debate of whether or not we are going to get forced to get vaccinated. And right now there are some pilots that are striking because of it, which is deeply affecting my industry. It's not Delta specifically yet, but, you know, having the public health policy has, you know, right now it's been really helpful for me to kind of wrap my mind around what we're facing. And with the nursing courses I took, we actually have quite a bit of medical emergencies on the plane, a lot more than I anticipated. Lots of seizures and fainting and issues with blood sugar. I've had to divert. And I always seem to be the one that finds the sick passenger. So the policy is if you find the person, you have to then kind of spearhead their care. Obviously, we call nurses and doctors that are on the plane, but we have to communicate. And if there are no nurses and doctors, we kind of have to take the reins and things like that. So having multiple majors has helped since I do have such a versatile job and I kind of walk into it never knowing what might be coming my way. Yeah, I'm all set if you're good, Steph.
Perfect. Yeah, so I was really unsure of what I wanted to do after Keene. And I took some psychology courses. I really liked them. I added on 2 minors. One I added on as I was studying abroad because why not, right? And I really leaned on ACA and Aspire to really help figure out kind of what I want to do and where I want to be. And being able to lean on not only my faculty advisors, but my staff advisors too, with like orgs and reaching out to like Casey Justice or just anyone that could be able to help me gain some perspective on being an adult. But yeah, I think that choosing my career path, so to speak, it kind of fell in my lap because I really, really did not know what I wanted to do even after Keene. I kind of took the first 6 months after graduation to really think about what I wanted to do, and I started temping around, and I ended up temping at Harvard, and I loved the work there, and I worked in their graduate school of economics, and they really pushed me to apply to grad school, and I started my whole journey through grad school with them, and it was great, and it kind of pushed me along the way to go to higher ed, and that led me down to North Carolina for a couple of years, but now I'm back, and it's just cool to be able to see what kinds of career paths can stem from just general interest, because I did not want to be a psychologist. That wasn't for me. And like, just ask my research methods professor, like, no. But yeah, like, it's really cool to be able to use what I learned in the classroom and apply it, especially at a liberal arts institution. Like, you really get to learn, it's like a buffet. You get to dabble in different things and really apply it as you need. Oh, you, Colin.
Okay, thank you. Steph, I think you're right. The buffet example is good. I took an African music class, which was just kind of fun, but actually sometimes I still think about that class and music when I listen to different forms of music. For me as a communication major, I did because I thought it was kind of broad, and I was able to study a lot of different things from like organizational to interpersonal. And I liked that, and I minored in business management because I thought, it won't hurt to kind of get an idea on business and I just understand how to run it with an organization. And I think for me, it's helped a lot, especially having now 10 years of experience out of college. I think I had a lot of soft skills that I learned in college and kind of was able to utilize by being involved and learning how to do things, how organizations work. And not that I necessarily follow that now, which is why I started my own company. But I had a lot of soft skills. So I was able to kind of bounce around and work in the food industry, work in higher education, work as a teacher, and also traveling. So it was kind of just, I was able to do a lot of different things. But I think being at Keene kind of helped me understand that there are a lot of possibilities. And a communication major is kind of just so broad. I thought it'd be more like focused on, I don't know, I'd be working in a big company or something after college, and that never happened. And I'm very happy that I didn't. And now I like being able to, I guess be my own boss, but I work for everybody else pretty much at this point. But, it was a good foundation, and it also gave me the confidence that what I could do in college, I'd be able to kind of take that and run with it in the real world, which it just takes a lot longer because, the college is a 4-year term and the rest of your life is, I don't know, 40 years, 50 years. I don't know how long people live now. So, yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. Colin, you actually touched upon my next question brilliantly.
Phew, I read ahead.
No, you're good. You talked a lot about your soft skills and transferable skills. Can you talk a little bit more about examples or how you've been able to adapt those transferable skills and how you found them valuable in your first few years out of college?
Yeah, so coming out of college, it's kind of a tough combination of having a lot of confidence because you have an education and because you have all that experience in college, but then you get into the real world and really nobody gives a shit. Sorry to say this on recording, but yeah, nobody cares. So I think that's a little frustrating. And I think being in my early and mid 20s I was constantly frustrated in the work environments that I was working in because people really didn't care. I'd say people gave about 80% in whatever they were doing. And for me, that was frustrating. And, I had to kind of understand how things worked and had to figure out how these organizations worked and how they actually worked. And I think for me, that was frustrating, but having those soft skills of understanding and not necessarily being like super focused on this is a structure and this is how it goes, it allowed me to jump around a lot. I think I was able to connect with a lot of people in different roles within organizations. And overall, I think I was relatively liked, which is nice. And that kind of allowed me to get inside and figure out how this machine in the organization was working. But I would say it was pretty frustrating out of college, going from an environment in a college where I think it's a very nurturing place to be. And if you take advantage of it, you're going to learn a lot. But, when you step outside that college, the real world is very different.
Thank you. Steph, I'm going to pop over to you. What transferable or soft skills did you find valuable in your first few years out of college?
Yeah, so I was really lucky that when I was at Keene, I was overindulgent in my extracurriculars. So I really got to capitalize on my transferable skills that I learned in the classroom to, let's say, my sorority and dealing with them. I really got to brush up on my skills that way. So it was really interesting to take those skills and the experiences I had with that out of Keene. It was definitely kind of like Colin said, like it was definitely a rough transition for me to figure out how the skills that I learned and the skills that I improved upon at Keene, how to transform those into marketable and packageable skills that would sell me for a job, so to speak. But I think that I definitely learned critical thinking at Keene, especially through the liberal arts program. I think that I am such a pro liberal arts kind of person. I will preach it from the mountaintops, but I think that being able to interact and communicate with different people is just, it's so, you use it every day, and it's a skill that everyone needs to have, that I think that was really helpful at Keene. And we were given a lot of opportunities to expand on just learning from others. Sorry.
Thank you. And then Marissa, same question. What transferable skills do you find valuable?
So like Steph and Colin as well, I did a lot of extracurriculars. I think it's super important to be a multifaceted person because, you know, as Colin touched upon, like they might care where you went to school, or what you majored in, but most likely not. What they care about is what you can bring to the table, and being able to work with different groups of people, work under pressure is huge. With my job, I had to do evacuations in front of, mock evacuations in front of people. And, it was really hard for me to adjust to learn how to work under pressure. Although I did it in college, it's just a whole nother level when you enter the workforce. And I can imagine in an office setting, being able to give presentations and talk to people above you. You might be talking to CEOs and things like that. So student government, I think, was super helpful for that, for being able to communicate with people who rank a lot higher above you and have a lot more life and work experience for you. So I can't encourage, students enough just to get involved with so many different aspects, because you will just pick up on so many different things along the way. And you want to be as well-rounded of a person as you can as you enter the workforce, because you are going to be freshly out of college, and you kind of need to prove, why you deserve this job. And, it's pretty competitive, if you don't have your master's, which when you get out, you don't right out the gate, unless you kind of go straight through. But, I think being a multifaceted person and being able to be flexible and adjust is huge.
Fantastic. Thank you. I appreciate all of those comments. They all ring so true. Steph, I am going to have you go up first for the next question. How did your relationships with advisors, faculty, and staff add to your toolkit and help you after you graduated?
Yes. So I am obsessed with any and all of my advisors that I had. So I still talk to 98% of my advisors that really helped me through getting through Keene and also after. So I lean on you a lot, Bethany, for just, especially now being in your realm of higher ed. It's really cool to be able to just chat about this kind of stuff. I really refer a lot of my knowledge kind of going back to seeing what my old Greek life advisor did, or an old conduct officer did, or Liz Cahoon, and seeing what she's doing in admissions, kind of what her thought process on things are. I'm a relationship oriented person. I think that being able to build upon relationships past your time physically there is one of the most important parts of a college experience that isn't really loudly kind of projected. I think that being able to connect with your faculty that you've had years ago, I'm still friends with a bunch of them on Facebook, and I love seeing where they're at. And, if they've retired and they're going on a camping trip, or they have a new grandchild, and just being able to connect with these people because I did see them as adults because I didn't self. I see them now as peers and as people that I can reach out to if I need assistance on this, that, or the other thing, and not just the context of what the relationship was initially.
Perfect. I am going to popcorn over to Colin. How did your relationship with advisors and faculty help you?
I'd say it's really important that everybody has, some advisors or mentors at a college when they're there. I think that students who don't have it, I think, have a much harder time in college and then out of college. And I think for me, having somebody who was a resident director, when we had an advisor for student government, when I had an advisor for my major, I think it just helped a lot. It kind of was a sounding board for things I was kind of experiencing when I was there in college. And I think it made me realize the importance of having a mentor outside of college. So, when I graduated college and all of a sudden was kind of out on my own, I found it very difficult because you didn't really have that same, I would say, like a safety net of people to talk about things going on in your life, work related. And I found that in work environments that I was in after college, I mean, you don't really have those advisors or mentors. And you're kind of like playing a ladder game of trying to go up. So that was frustrating. So now when I have my own business and I run it, I still look for advisors and mentors because I know how important it is. And I think everybody should have them. So getting to experience that in college and realizing how important it was and how helpful, I really think everybody should have that in and out of college, no matter how old you are. I even think older people, in their 60s should have people that they talk with.
Awesome, thank you. And Marissa.
Yeah, so because I kind of took a beeline away from my major and started a career that isn't really related to what I studied, for the first couple of years out of college, I kept in touch with Bethany and Casey and some of my extracurriculars. But when it came to my academics, I actually didn't keep in touch with too many of the people that advised me when it came to academics. However, I can touch on how important it is to make a good impression and how important it is to have a relationship with them as you are going through, because I am actually applying to school again and I had to get an academic reference. And looking back, I was like, oh my gosh, I haven't talked to any of my academic advisors in a while. I hope this certain one remembers me. And I recently sent her an email kind of explaining who I was and, asking her if she remembered me enough to write a recommendation. And she responded and she was like, of course I remember you. And she remembered, a bunch of different things about me. And, she's going to be able to write me a letter of recommendation. So it is super important to make your mark while you're there, because you never know when you're going to need that again.
That is phenomenal advice. I never thought about that, but yes, absolutely.
Me either, until a couple days ago. So the timing worked out.
Awesome, thank you. So question for all three of you. Looking back at your time at Keene State College, what is the most valuable experience you had? And I'm actually gonna look to Colin first because you are the longest out of the three.
The most rusty. Let's see, one experience. I don't know if I can think of one experience in general, or specifically. So, Bethany, ask me that question again. One experience that what?
Looking back at your time at Keene State College, what is the most valuable experience you had? And valuable can be subjective. What do you think made it valuable?
I think probably having those human relationships that I did in college, and I found them very real with friends of mine, with advisors and professors. I found that like a really human level of connection that I think is very special in Keene, and I don't think that the rest of the world kind of has that sort of connection that Keene does internally. So I think probably just connecting with people on a human level within the college was a really valuable experience.
Awesome, thank you. Steph, how about for you? What was your most valuable experience?
I think studying abroad, I think that really pushed myself out of my comfort zone. And it really was a test to seeing what I could use from my time at Keene in the year and a half that I had been there, and really applied it to the real world. And I think that is an opportunity that not enough people take advantage of. And it's been 6 years and I still talk about it every day. So worth the money, I think.
And Marissa, for you, what is your most valuable experience that you had at Keene State?
Student government for sure. Out of every, I kind of just went for it on a whim. I remember it was fall of freshman year, and someone came around and was like, you should apply to be a representative. And I was like, I don't know what that is, but okay. And, being on e-board, and it's to the point where I look back and I can't even remember what I was, because I bounced around so much. I think I was vice president at one point, secretary at one point. There's just so many different avenues you can take. And I thought it was very valuable being able to, be a freshman and work with the seniors and, kind of be advised and guided by them, and being able to work with the faculty was also invaluable to me. There's just so many, you can do multiple things at once and so many avenues you can take. So I definitely recommend it.
Fabulous. Thank you so much. Now, this one has a little bit of a different perspective. And Steph, I'm probably gonna ask you to go first for this one. Was there anything you would have done differently at Keene State?
I think that I probably would have even ventured more outside of my comfort zone while at Keene. I think that I took a lot of 100 level courses in my senior year, and I wish I had taken them earlier, because women and gender studies, there's so much to unpack there. Holocaust and genocide studies, there's so much to unpack there. And I think that I just wish I had more time in my schedule for all of the really great courses we took. I took a class with Susan Wade, and it was about the historical context of Game of Thrones. And that was the best class that I could have ever taken.
That's awesome. Marissa, let's pop over to you.
So kind of to contrast Steph's most valuable experience, agree with that. I wish I studied abroad. I did not. I was too busy jumping around science majors, which for science majors, it's really difficult for you to study abroad. So I think if you're locked in on what you want to do, go to your advisor and ask how you can kind of set up your classes for the next 4 years to do one semester abroad. I'm traveling now, but I can't even imagine, months in a certain place, how much you could learn. So that's definitely one of my things I wish I did.
Thank you. And Colin, is there anything you would
I think, looking back, I wish I would have pushed a little bit harder within student government to try to make some changes on campus when I was there. I don't think that at the time I understood, the power that all of the students had. And if we could kind of come together to make some changes, I think, some of those things we worked on, like the smoking on campus policy. But I mean, even when I was in college was getting more and more expensive. And I think we should have pushed harder on both the college and the government of New Hampshire to, pay more attention on those rising costs for students. Because I think that was it was getting out of control. Now it's obviously out of control, but I think we should have pushed harder. I don't think we understood how powerful we were at the time. So.
It's an awesome answer. So I am going to open up the floor. I think Kristen has a question, so I am going to pop over to her. So Kristen, go ahead. And then let me turn on the video just so you can see. Here we go. Go for it, Kristen. Hi, Steph, Marissa, and Colin. My question is, if you had to offer one piece of advice to current students or even your previous self as a student, what would you give? What's that one piece of advice that you might give?
I would say my advice would be don't be afraid to be aggressive.
Great, awesome. Then what about you, Marissa?
Have confidence in yourself and your ability to get the job done, because that's definitely where I went wrong.
And Steph.
Ask more questions, because you really don't know what you can kind of get your little hands on and change unless you ask questions. And I mean, on the other side of it, like as administrators, we don't know how best to serve students if students don't speak up about it.
Great, thank you. And sorry, just one more thing that I want to ask. I know if you touched upon it, but were there any, considering that this is the alumni speaker series, career speaker series, were there any other services or departments that you worked with here on campus that were successful in either helping with your major or life after college? And anyone, I guess, can answer that.
Student involvement, definitely for me. Like I will bow down to Jen Farrell as long as I live.
Great. And I would say, Marissa and Colin, if you have any other, feel free to jump in.
For me, I was a swimmer going into college, and I swam my freshman year. I think that played an integral part in my, college and what I did after, just from being a swimmer. But the sports aspect of a college, I think, is really important. And I think that helped. I mean, the swim program, I have to imagine, is probably still pretty good for a D3 school. When I was there, it was actually very, very good. And we had a great coach. So I think that, sports and college go together pretty well. And I think if athletes, I think sometimes I found it that, the swimmers I swam with, they didn't really get involved in anything else because it took up so much of their time. But I think if athletes who have that mentality get involved in other pieces of college, I think that they can do quite well.
Academic and career advising was all very helpful for me, as I'd be like, back again, I'm changing my major. So, they were super helpful. And also I had a counselor on campus who was also very, very helpful, because as I was changing my major, that brought a lot of anxiety. And that was my first time I had done one-on-one counseling. And now in my adult life, I am a huge advocate. I think everyone needs to be in therapy. So
100%.
Great points. Thank you. Do you have any? No, that's it. Okay, I actually have a question that I just thought of, because all of you were so involved in different activities, from Greek life to athletics to student government to everything else. How was the balance between involvement and your classroom experience? So were you able to bring in any experiences either from the classroom into your involvement, or vice versa, involvement into your classwork with your professors, any research, projects, things like that? How was the balance?
For me, the balance was good, and I enjoyed being able to study communications and then work as an RA. So the communications and the business side. So I remember, I think it was maybe my sophomore or junior year, it was kind of complementing each other very well, because I'd go from the classroom where you're learning about organization and things like that inside a company. And then I thought of my residents kind of as my company. And so how do you talk with them and how do you work with them and try to get them going? So, for me, it was kind of symbiotic between, what I was learning in the classroom and what I was doing on college campus. And it was nice to be able to put it in practice right away. Whereas, you learn this stuff and then 10 years later, you're trying to reflect back on what did I learn in the classroom. So trying to be able to do it the day of or that week and try something out was really cool.
Awesome, thank you. Anyone else?
I did biology research and then, student government. And I think those two definitely helped me improve, excuse me, my presentation skills in college. Of course, in my courses, of course, you have to, do presentations and things like that. But being able to, report research and kind of propose things in student government definitely took away some of the stage fright for my academics.
Yeah, and then I think that the most notable thing I can think of is I was a tour guide all 4 years, and to be able to experience the campus to its fullest extent really allowed me to earnestly give these tours and feel good about it, not like slimy. But I really did answer any questions that I got with complete truth, and I love the school to this day, and I think that being able to market my experience for incoming first years and incoming families, I think that that's special, and I think that that was a fun way to take my time as a student and kind of pay it forward.
Awesome, thank you. Do you have any other questions? You don't. I mean, do the panelists have any questions for themselves or for each other? Curious questions that have popped up during the...
Steph, did you think you would be in higher ed when you initially graduated?
So I didn't even know that it was an option at all. I was at a conference that I got to go to because I was nosy and kind of wheedled my way in, and I got to go to, the beautiful city of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, for free. But I got to go to a conference, and I was sharing a room, and I was sharing a room with JP, and he was like, you should really think about going into higher ed. Like, I think you'd be really good at it. Like, even being a Greek life advisor, like, I don't know. And I was like, maybe, I don't know. And that kind of planted the seed, and it was always simmering in the back. But yeah, it's so fun to be able to help other students kind of find their way and figure out what they want to do. My student development mantra is like, I want to help shape you guys into however you want to live your life after here. So if you guys want, so I'm in charge of the phone-a-thon program here, and I'm like, if you guys find that you want to analyze more data and then be able to put that on your resume, like, let's do that. If you want to dive into digital marketing campaign and really learn the ins and outs of that and how it relates to development and giving and gifts and whatnot, like, let's do that. Let's talk about that, and really kind of teetering with things to make it customizable, so then they are more employable later.
That's awesome.
It's fun.
Do you have any other questions for each other? I love this.
Colin, where can I buy your hummus? Because I love hummus.
I'm literally Googling that right now.
We sell it. I make it in Medford, so I think you're relatively close, correct?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and we sell in Whole Foods. I think we sell in 25 Whole Foods in New England. We sell in like a lot of local markets, and we're just launching in Dave's supermarket, which is like 16 locations in Rhode Island. But you can also just message me after this, and I'll. I have like a facility where I make thousands of pounds of hummus, so it's really good.
That's awesome.
All right, I am just going to wrap things up to give us a little bit of closure here. Do any of you have any final words, any words of wisdom for our students?
Good luck.
Steph or Marissa, any final
Enjoy it goes by so fast, and just soak in every second of it, even the parts that kind of suck. You're going to look back on it, and it's going to be one of the best times of your life.
Yeah, just get involved, do everything, try everything once. Go to bingo. Oh my gosh, go to bingo.
Host bingo. Bingo's awesome.
I used to plan my classes around bingo, like.
That's fantastic. All right, well, I just wanted to say thank you to our panelists. I'm so excited we were able to get you together and to be talking about your experiences and how Keene State has helped shape you to the career and the trajectory that you all three are on. So I'm really excited to stay in touch with you and to see what you guys are up to and where you're going to go from here. So like I said, this is recorded, so we will be able to share it out with a bunch of folks. And thank you for being part of our peer speaker series for this fall. And our next one is October 27th. So thank you all so much and enjoy the rest of your day.